The Enfield Poltergeist, 1977. The Enfield Poltergeist case is one of the most famous and controversial paranormal incidents in British history. The story took place in Enfield, a borough in North London, and involved a series of bizarre and terrifying events that occurred between 1977 and 1979 at a modest council house on Green Street. The Hodgson family, consisting of single mother Peggy Hodgson and her children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy, were at the center of the haunting. The events began in August 1977, when Peggy Hodgson first noticed strange disturbances in the house. Late one night, she heard a loud crash coming from her daughter's bedroom. Rushing in to check, she found Janet and Margaret visibly distressed, claiming that their beds were shaking and strange knocking sounds were echoing through the walls. Peggy dismissed their claims as childish imagination, but the phenomena only escalated. The disturbances soon became impossible to ignore. Objects began to move on their own. Furniture would slide across the room, and small items, such as toys, would be flung across the house without any visible cause. The knocking sounds grew louder, and were often heard in response to direct questions, suggesting an intelligence behind the activity. Desperate and terrified, Peggy contacted the police, who visited the house and witnessed a chair moving across the floor on its own. However, they could not find any logical explanation and left the case unsolved. Frustrated and seeking answers, Peggy then reached out to the media, which led to the involvement of Maurice Grosse and Guy Leon Playfair, two paranormal investigators from the Society for Psychical Research. Grosse and Playfair spent extended periods in the Hodgson home, documenting the events and trying to understand what was happening. They witnessed many of the phenomena firsthand: the furniture moving, objects flying through the air, and perhaps most chillingly, the voice of Bill, an old man who claimed to be the previous occupant of the house. The voice often spoke through Janet, the 11-year-old girl, in a deep, gruff tone that was completely different from her usual voice. The voice would speak about death, and at times, issue threats to the family and investigators.
Tuesday fortnight, I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage, and I fell asleep, and I died in a chair in the corner downstairs.
The identity of Bill became a central part of the investigation. Janet, who appeared to be at the center of the activity, would slip into trances where the voice took over. The voice claimed to be that of Bill Wilkins, a man who had died in the house years earlier. Further investigation revealed that a man named Bill Wilkins had indeed lived and died in the house, lending some credibility to the claim. However, skeptics pointed out that Janet could have learned about Bill Wilkins from other sources. Despite the skeptics' doubts, many of those who heard the voice were convinced it could not have come from Janet herself due to its depth and strength, which would have been difficult for a young girl to produce. As news of the Enfield Poltergeist spread, the house became a focal point for public attention. Journalists, photographers, and more paranormal investigators flocked to the house, hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural phenomena. The family was bombarded by media attention, and the story made headlines across the UK. However, the case was not without controversy. Some skeptics accused the Hodgson children, particularly Janet, of faking the events for attention. They pointed out instances where Janet was caught bending spoons or faking a levitation for the cameras. Janet later admitted that some of the phenomena had been staged, but maintained that the majority of the events were genuine. Maurice Grosse and Guy Leon Playfair remained convinced of the authenticity of the case, citing the vast number of witnesses and the consistency of the phenomena over time. Playfair would later write a book, This House is Haunted: The True Story of a Poltergeist, detailing the events and his experiences during the investigation. the paranormal activity gradually subsided by 1979, leaving behind a shaken but relieved Hodgson family. Janet Hodgson, the primary focus of the phenomena, would later recall that the events left a lasting impact on her life. Despite admitting to fabricating some of the occurrences, she continued to insist that most of what happened was real and beyond explanation. The Enfield Poltergeist remains a hotly debated topic. Believers see it as one of the most convincing cases of paranormal activity ever documented, while skeptics dismiss it as a combination of hoaxes, psychological disturbances, and the power of suggestion. Over the years, the Enfield Poltergeist case has inspired numerous books, documentaries, and even a movie. It has become an enduring legend in the world of the paranormal, symbolizing the mysterious and often frightening nature of unexplained phenomena. Whether a genuine haunting or a complex hoax, the Enfield Poltergeist continues to captivate and intrigue, raising questions about the unknown forces that may or may not exist just beyond the veil of our understanding. So what do you think? Did you believe the family's story? I first heard of this story when I was a child and grew up hearing about it. I have watched several documentaries and read the book This House is Haunted by Guy Leon Playfair. It is my conclusion that this is one of the few paranormal cases that is indeed true. Thank you for watching. Look in the video description for links to the articles used as source material and for the photo credits. Also remember to like and subscribe for more haunted reels. Sleep tight.